Hey everyone, Couch Investor back to another video for today and back with a Palantir update because with all the AI hype out there, there's one stock, one company that hasn't really been moving that much in recent weeks, maybe even months. And if the movement was there, it was obviously on the downside. Now, if we look at the graph, since that pop on earnings day, the stock is down around 20% and it was down much more back in the mid-March. Right now we're standing just under the 20 and just over the 50-day moving average at around $8. Now as time goes by and we stay in that $8 range, we might see a big movement during the next earnings report because the 200-day moving average comes down, we start forming a, let's call it base-ish here at $8, and then if earnings comes in much better than expected, we can go and pierce through that 200-day moving average. Extremely crucial since last time, as you can see, we did not stay there for long, well over it. Now, when it comes to AI right now, right? Semiconductor companies like Nvidia, AMD, and even Intel have gone up significantly lately. We've talked about Intel not so long ago. Video will be in top right corner. C3 AI was a whole shtick around that company as well. When your ticker symbol is AI, well, you're bound to get some attention. But when it comes to Palantir, a company that has been dealing with real AI, that has been working with and developing products of AI, not just the word AI, because lately things that are automated, linked with data, everybody links it directly with AI. Should we remind ourselves, AI, artificial intelligence, human intelligence, artificial intelligence, try to replicate as close as possible to what human intelligence can be. So everybody that's out there and doing automations, data collecting, whatever you want to call it, and suddenly that becomes AI, well, unfortunately, and as Alec Karps keeps saying, these companies are usually companies that are here for the hype, and some of them are just PowerPoint companies. Now, shall we remind ourselves where Palantir stands when it comes to AI? Last year, Palantir ranked number 1 worldwide in artificial intelligence software study in market share and revenue. And this is above the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, and so on and so forth. Of course, we've talked about this on this channel, and if you've been following Palantir for a while, you know about this. Now, more recently, again, good news for Palantir does not mean that the stock will actually move one bit on the upside. But more recently, we've had a Palantir and Microsoft partnership expansion when it comes to the cloud. So they achieved FedRAMP authorization and accreditation to support workloads at US Department of Defense, DoD, Impact Level 4 and Department of Defense Impact Level 5 on Microsoft Azure. Doesn't stop there. They're aiming to support Impact Level 6 through multi-cloud service integration. Again, great news when it comes to partnerships, great news when it comes to the reliability of Palantir as a platform, obviously partnering up here or expanding the strategic partnership with one of the best and biggest companies around. Now, of course, next up, I will have to talk about their new platform that they announced, what it means, why it's different, and what we can expect, but also maybe some misunderstanding when it comes to, well, what other companies can also do right now when it comes to AI. Because of course, Palantir has a huge, I would call it fan base, but it's not a sport or anything. We're investors here. We're not fans of anything. The company, the stock doesn't know we're owning it, right? So we don't owe it anything. It doesn't owe us anything either. Management owes us some explanations when things don't go according to plan. Now with the whole tensions right now between the US, Taiwan, and China, of course, remains to be seen how a company like Palantir, I would call it, take advantage of it, but the same thing with what is happening with Russia and Ukraine right now. Usually you start seeing more attention going to Palantir, more money flowing in, because it is proving that its product is working and is helping our allies. Now, before we go and look at a huge catalyst for the stock. If you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, would really appreciate that. And if you want to support me even further, do check out the links down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. So the biggest catalyst that a stock could get these days is this. So Arnie tweeted out, great Substack, go subscribe to that. So Jim Cramer is the best catalyst for a stock. When he's negative, you should be bullish. When he's positive, you should be bearish. So here it says Palantir is not a real company. I think that Palantir is a series of press releases. I mean, the guy W's all around. Anyways, up next, we have the new platform. So, bending artificial intelligence to our collective will, a letter from the CEO. It's a pretty long letter, so I'll try and summarize it as fast as possible and then touch on some crucial points. So Palantir will be releasing a new platform called Artificial Intelligence Platform, or AIP, that combines machine learning technologies with large language models, or LLMs, for customers across commercial and government sectors. The AIP will require foundational data platforms that enable the imposition of legal and ethical constraints as well as regulatory requirements governing the use of data, because lately, of course, we've had that letter that calls out for a pause in AI development because some people, including Steve Wozniak and Elon Musk, among others, I believe it was Steve Wozniak, I'll correct it if I'm wrong, a pause on AI because things are moving extremely fast right now and maybe we don't really have our seatbelts on because, well, when you look at Google and Microsoft, they're really pushing it to the limit and maybe they aren't thinking about some ethical issues at the moment. Probably they're saying, hey, if there are some, we'll fix it later on, because I think Congress has made it pretty clear right now that when it comes to regulating big tech, well, they're not in the business as of today. So continuing here, the AIP will also allow the imposition of ontology on data, ensuring that such data reflects the structure of the real world. Now, for those of you that don't know what ontology is, so ontology refers to a branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of existence and reality. Now, in computer science and information technology, ontology refers to a formal representation of knowledge or concepts that defines the relationship between different entities and how they relate to each other. In other words, it is a way of structuring information that reflects the real world and the relationship between different object concepts and categories. And this is also one of the points where Palantir differentiates itself with other AI, let's call it companies, maybe even just basic LLMs as well. Because as we have actually seen, and I've shared this on this channel, some of these LLMs are full of it and they don't even know it. Or maybe they do know it, but hey, someone that's reading it might not know it. And so continuing here, Palantir plans to release the platform to companies across sectors, including aviation, manufacturing, energy, banking, mining, pharmaceutical, and automotive industries. The first version of AIP is currently under development and will be available to strategic partners in the coming weeks. Additionally, the company believes that the deployment of these technologies will be transformative in the commercial and industrial context. Now, they gave us some example here. So they say here, an intelligence analyst working for an allied nation in Europe, for example, might prompt AIP as follows. So if you're familiar with ChatGPT, you know how this works. Which of our special forces units are closest to enemy tanks position and have sufficient supplies of Javelin missiles to mount an offensive? And which specific tanks on the battlefield are most vulnerable to attack? By the way, this is a prompt that probably someone in Taiwan right now or around it might use. Then they talk about the commercial and industrial context. So a scientist searching for a new drug at a large American pharmaceutical company, for example, might ask the following. Which of our project's candidate drugs is predicted to be the safest for human use? And do we have the capacity to scale up production for a clinical trial of those drugs? Imagine if this was possible back at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And last thing, and this is a response to calling for a pause in AI development, and they make a very, very strong point here again. To pause our current efforts, however, would be to indulge in the fantasy of a world without conflict. The application of these newest forms of artificial intelligence have been and will continue to be determinative on the battlefield. Others can debate the merits of proceeding with the development of these technologies, but we will not stand while our adversaries move ahead. It's very, very true. In the West, we think about ethical stuff. We think about the value of human lives. Other parts of the world don't really care that much. So if in the West we start pausing with those developments in AI, which are game changing, right? They are changing the world. It's changing the world each and every day. So if the West suddenly says, hey, let's pause here, let's see what type of regulation documentation we can come up with. In the meantime, our enemies are working full steam ahead, which is clearly not what you want. Anyways, moving on to another topic that I've heard some people talk about, and that's the fact that Palantir has been working on this, or with artificial intelligence, real artificial intelligence, building a platform, a couple of platforms actually, thanks to it, working with government, working with commercial, proving to the industries that it is working, that you can be more efficient, that you can save millions and millions of dollars. Now, with AI, of course, the question comes in and people say, oh, Palantir is the only company out there that can make sure that within a company, only specific employees can ask specific questions or have access to specific documents or information. Now, we've talked about several companies on this channel that deal with cybersecurity, and I can tell you that this is the basic of the basic stuff. All right? For example, Varonis, we talked about this a long, long time ago. This is one of their product offering, making sure that some documents are not available, some things, some software, some products that they're offering, or some divisions, let's call it, are not accessible to some employees. And you can also follow the crumbles, right? Like Hansel and Gretel. You can follow along if something was printed, if something was sent by email, looked over by someone that shouldn't really be looking there. It's all documented. It's not just Palantir that can do this. No, a lot of cybersecurity companies offer these services. It's really the basic of the basics. So for those that are saying that, oh, only Palantir can handle this type of things, unfortunately, that's just incorrect. But yes, overall, not many companies around actually deal with real-world AI problem solving. Lots of companies are, as Alex says, just PowerPoint companies. And I have to agree. Again, overall, the stock Palantir will do what it will do. I just want to see the company focus on execution, focus on selling its software, because right now it's unfortunately the worst environment, but best environment for them to start accelerating growth. I think we can all agree on that, but of course, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.